The Royals own me. Harry owes me. Meghan owes me. Hide out, and because the hotel would have been found out, I would have been found, and the press would have been everywhere. Watching whatever differences or problems we had, that we should be able to work them out. We're family. So please reach out.
Picture this. Your daughter's getting married and you're not invited. No explanation. No sorry, Dad, just nothing. Now imagine that wedding's being watched by millions of people worldwide and you're sitting at home erased like you never existed. That's exactly what happened to Thomas Markle. He'd check his mailbox every single day, waiting for that fancy envelope with the royal seal on it. He's thinking about walking his little girl down the aisle, the moment every father dreams about since the day his daughter's born.
So imagine this. You're Meghan Markle, waking up in your Montecito mansion, birds chirping, sunshine.
But here's the thing, that invitation never showed up. All he got was some weird comment over the phone about how it probably got lost in the mail. Yeah, right. That one line? That's where the whole perfect fairy tale starts falling apart. Because Thomas doesn't think this was about some lost invitation. He believes his own daughter and her mother deliberately cut him out, rewrote the entire story, and fed the world a version of events that everyone wanted to believe.
It always begins the same way, with whispers. For years, Meghan Markle's name floated in quiet corners of conversation.
And what he's claiming? It'll make you question everything you thought you knew about that royal wedding. Before we dive into what really happened, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about this royal wedding. And if you think you can handle the truth, smash that like button right now. Here's where things get interesting. Before Meghan ever stepped foot near a palace, she'd already lived about 10 different versions of herself.
Meghan Markle's dishwashing liquid lie has finally been exposed.
And Thomas, he watched it all happen. He says his daughter figured out early on how to remake her entire identity, not just her hair color or her style, but who she actually was to the people around her. Get this. During all those school years, Meghan's teachers never met her mother. Not once. Not at parent-teacher conferences, not at school events, not at graduation ceremonies leading up to the big one.
For those of my parsnips who didn't know, apparently there was a earthquake.
It was always Thomas showing up, Thomas signing the forms, Thomas being the parent in the room. So when Doria finally appeared at Meghan's high school graduation, people didn't just notice. They were genuinely shocked. Why? Because nobody in that entire school even knew Meghan's mother was Black. Think about that for a second. Years of school, years of friendships, years of teachers watching this girl grow up, and not one of them had a clue about half her heritage. That's not an accident. That doesn't just happen.
Harry owes me.
For all those years, Meghan had simply let everyone assume she was Italian. She'd casually mention Malta in conversations, play up that olive skin and dark hair, keep everything wrapped in this mysterious, exotic vibe. Race? It never entered the conversation. She didn't lie about it, sure, but she didn't correct anyone either. She just let people fill in the blanks however they wanted, and apparently they all filled them in the same way. Thomas remembers people at that graduation doing double takes, whispered conversations.
And now, with Thomas Markle hinting that she shaved off several years, it's all starting to make sense.
You're doing great. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Wait, that's her mom? Confused looks. Nobody wanted to say anything out loud because, that'd be awkward. But the surprise was written all over their faces. Here was this whole part of Meghan's identity that she'd kept completely hidden. Not locked away in some secret, but just never mentioned. Never brought up, never made visible. Now fast forward years later. Meghan's standing on the world stage, and suddenly she's the mixed-race duchess, the barrier-breaking woman of color marrying into the British monarchy.
Thing that comes out of this woman's mouth is just garbage.
Fans have been connecting dots like they're running a true crime podcast.
First of her kind, historic moment. Beautiful story of diversity and progress, right? And here's the wild part. It's the same woman who spent her entire childhood basically pretending that part of her didn't exist. Same person who let an entire school think she was something else entirely. Now she's carrying her heritage like a flag, making it the centerpiece of her whole identity. You might be thinking, well, that's just personal growth, isn't it? People change, they find themselves, they learn to embrace who they really are. And maybe that's true for most people.
I have no problem facing her in court and disputing what she has to say.
Career defining, yeah.
But Thomas, he sees something completely different. He doesn't think this was about self-discovery or finally feeling comfortable in her own skin. He thinks it was calculated, strategic. A girl who learned early that you can be whoever you need to be, depending on what the world wants from you at that exact moment. Listen, he's not sitting here saying his daughter woke up one day and decided to become some master manipulator. That's not what this is about. What he's saying is that she learned a skill, probably without even realizing it at first.
He disrespected Queen Elizabeth from the get-go. She mocked the Queen. She came into the royal family and thought she owned the place.
And it doesn't help.
She learned how to read a room, read a situation, read what people needed to see, and then become exactly that. Hollywood wanted ambiguous beauty, the kind that could play different roles, fit different stories. She gave them that mysterious, could-be-anything look. The royal family wanted a modern image, wanted to show they were progressive, wanted diversity in the bloodline. She packaged herself as exactly that breakthrough moment they needed. And here's the thing that keeps Thomas up at night. It's like watching someone build an entire tower out of mirrors.
Into the title, she branded it. There's Duchess of Sussex merch. Her full name is now...
You walk around it, and everywhere you look, you see something. Every angle shows you a reflection that looks real, that feels true. But here's the problem with mirrors. They only show you what you're supposed to see. They reflect what's already there in pieces, but you never actually get to see the whole picture. You never know what's standing in the center holding all those mirrors up. The Meghan he remembers, the little girl he raised, she wasn't born as some calculating villain. She wasn't plotting and scheming from the crib. She was just a kid who couldn't stand being ordinary.
Prince Harry will not make Meghan Markle a billionaire. She wants to be a billionaire, so who will? A new man. At some point, if it's offered up, it may.
And honestly, lots of kids feel that way. They want to be special. They want to be chosen. They want people to look at them and see something amazing. That's normal. But somewhere along the way, somewhere between those childhood auditions and the Hollywood red carpets and those palace gates opening up, she figured something out. She realized that the truth, the real, messy, complicated truth about who you are, that's heavy. It weighs you down. It limits you.
Thomas Markle just broke his silence, revealing shocking secrets about Meghan that nobody saw coming. In a stunning move,
it puts you in boxes that maybe you don't want to be in. So she learned to set it down. Not all at once, but piece by piece, a little here, a little there, until she'd built something new, something shinier, something that could take her further than the truth ever would. And that's when the double life really started. Not the one where you're sneaking around or hiding secrets in the traditional sense. No, this was subtler than that. This was the life where what people see and what's actually real become two completely different things.
Doc, I'm hurt for my dad. I'm worried about him, and they seem to be stable in the building.
The one the cameras never catch, because it's not about what you do, it's about what you choose to show. Now, if there's one name Thomas says should make people pause and ask questions, it's Doria Ragland. And here's the thing, this isn't about attacking someone or making wild accusations. This is about pieces of a story that just don't fit together the way they should. Doria wasn't around much when Meghan was growing up. That's just a fact. Those school years we just talked about, the teachers who never met Meghan's mom, that wasn't because Doria was working 3 jobs or living across the country.
It's a huge disappointment, and it's sad every day.
I'm delighted to cross to Rosarito, Mexico.
She was just absent, gone from the picture for long stretches of time, and nobody really talked about where or why. Then suddenly, in the mid-1990s, she reappeared. But here's where it gets strange. When she came back into Meghan's life, she was living in public housing. This went on for years until she got evicted in 1997. Now listen, there's no shame in hard times. People struggle, people lose homes, that's life. But what happened right after that eviction?
It's a huge disappointment, and it's sad every day.
I'm delighted to cross to Rosarito, Mexico.
That's where Thomas's mind starts spinning, and honestly, you can't blame him. Shortly after Doria was evicted, her own father passed away. The official story, an accident. Police said he tripped while walking his dogs. Case closed, nothing to see here, just a tragic accident. But Thomas can't let it go, and when you hear the details, you'll understand why. Doria was the only person there when it happened, the only witness to the whole thing. And here's what doesn't make sense. The injuries her father had, they didn't match up with a simple fall.
In a shocking revelation, Thomas Markle, the estranged father...
You trip walking your dog, you might scrape your knee, maybe hit your head, but this was different. Get this. The man was found on grass. Not concrete, not a hard surface, just grass. And yet he was bleeding heavily, injuries that seemed way too severe for falling on something soft. Thomas keeps coming back to that detail. How do you get hurt that badly falling on grass? It's one of those things that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It sits in the back of your mind, nagging at you. And then there's the detail that really gets under Thomas's skin.
It's not every day you hear about someone getting turned away from Kris Jenner's mansion. But when that someone is Meghan Markle...
Doria kept the dog leashes, the ones that supposedly caused the whole accident. Now, most people, if something terrible happened involving an object, they'd want it gone, right? They'd throw it away, burn it, anything to not have that reminder sitting around. But Doria, she kept them, like a keepsake, like a memory she wanted to hold on to. Thomas won't come right out and say what he's thinking, he can't, but his fear is written all over his face when he talks about it. He said that Doria is capable of doing very nasty things.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn, because now we'll uncover the details of...
Those are his exact words. And when a father talks about his daughter's mother like that, when there's that kind of fear in his voice, you've got to wonder what he's seen, what he knows that he's not saying out loud. Here's what really chills the blood, though. Thomas has openly said, "I know they want me gone," not in a paranoid conspiracy theory kind of way, in a dead serious, looking over his shoulder kind of way. These aren't words from some guy chasing attention or trying to get his 15 minutes of fame. This is a father who's genuinely afraid.
Not be there if it wasn't for her treatment of him. I guarantee it. And so,
A man who's watched the puzzle pieces of Doria's past and present, and the picture they form scares him. Because here's what you've got to understand. The Doria the world sees now, she's all peace and spirituality. Yoga instructor, calm presence, that soothing grandmother energy at royal events. She's got this whole zen, wouldn't hurt a fly image. And maybe that's real, maybe that's genuinely who she is now. But Thomas sees something else underneath all that calm. He sees someone who knows how to play a part.
Well, hello. I'm sorry. I didn't watch the Markle.
Just like her daughter. Someone who can show the world exactly what they want to see while keeping the complicated, messy truth buried deep. And the timing of her transformation, that's what really makes you think. Right when Meghan's life was about to explode into something huge, right when connections and image and family background were about to matter more than ever. That's when Doria emerged as this perfect, spiritual, supportive mother figure, the yoga teacher with the gentle smile.
You thought you knew Meghan Markle, but what if everything you thought about her was a lie?
The doting grandmother-to-be, the kind of parent any royal family would be thrilled to welcome. You've got this woman who was basically invisible during Meghan's childhood, then living in public housing, then connected to a family tragedy that raises more questions than answers. And suddenly she's polished up and ready for the world stage. And it's like someone took a rough draft and rewrote it completely, turning a messy, complicated story into something clean and camera ready. And Thomas isn't saying he knows exactly what happened back in 1997.
Hey, hi, I can hear you being angry about Meghan saying that her surname, her family name.
He's not claiming to have all the answers, but he's saying the questions never got asked. The details never got examined. And now, years later, with Meghan in the spotlight and Doria right there beside her, those unanswered questions feel less like old history and more like buried secrets. All right, here's where the story takes a turn that'll make your skin crawl. When Prince Harry introduced Meghan to the world, he said something that sounded really sweet. He told her, "I'm the family you never had."
Today, we're diving into one of the most explosive daytime TV moments ever captured, where Kelly Clarkson absolutely
romantic, right? A prince sweeping in to give this woman the love she'd been missing. The media ate it up. But here's the problem. Thomas had heard those exact words before. Years earlier, when Meghan was marrying Trevor Ingleson, he'd said the same thing. Right before their wedding in Jamaica, Trevor promised, "You'll finally have the family you never had." Think about that. Two different men, years apart, both thinking they're rescuing Meghan from loneliness, both convinced she had no family.
It doesn't have to be this way. Hey, girl. Down on your luck?
And here's the kicker. Thomas was alive both times, ready, willing, but neither of these men had a clue he existed as a real father. That's not coincidence. Thomas sees it for what it is, a narrative Meghan told, or at least let people believe, because it gave her something powerful, sympathy, and control. Listen, if you convince people you've got no family, that you've been on your own, what happens? People want to protect you. They don't ask hard questions. They don't dig into your past. They just accept the sad story.
To be honest with you, I love both my daughters. I'm not happy with what one of my daughters is doing.
Of the girl who made it alone. And here's the genius of it. Once that story's out there, anyone from your real family who speaks up gets labeled. They're not concerned relatives, they're jealous, they're toxic, they're the reason you had to leave. It's a perfect shield. It worked with Trevor, then it worked with Harry. Same story, same sympathy, same result. And both times, Thomas sat wondering how his daughter had erased him so completely that the men she married didn't even know he was real. But it's not just about being left out. It's about being rewritten.
In a shocking turn of events, Thomas Markle, Meghan's own father, has stepped forward with claims that could tear the...
In Meghan's version, Thomas went from devoted father to estranged parent who didn't understand her journey. The world saw Doria as the only parent who mattered. Imagine raising a kid, being there for everything, then watching the world get told you were never really there, that you were distant, absent, and there's nothing you can say because the story's already been told. The world's already decided which version they like better. Trevor probably realized it eventually. After the marriage fell apart, he probably looked back and thought,
in yet another explosive revelation, Thomas Markle has publicly criticized his estranged daughter, Meghan Markle.
wait, she had a father the whole time. But by then it didn't matter. And Harry? He's still living in that story, still believing he rescued Meghan from loneliness. Thomas wonders if Harry's ever questioned why a woman with supposedly no family could cut off her actual father so easily. Here's the thing, this narrative isn't just about sympathy, it's about power. If you believe someone has nothing, you don't question what they do to get something. You root for them. You forgive them. Thomas says the saddest part isn't losing his daughter to fame.
Hold on to your sun hats because this week, royal biographer Tom Bauer dropped a public relations bomb.
Families drift apart. The saddest part is realizing the story she sold required him to disappear. Not just physically, but from memory, from the record of her life. She needed him gone to make the narrative work, and once he understood that, once he realized his own daughter had turned him into a villain she never had to name, that's when the real heartbreak set in. Now we get to the part that Thomas says was straight up planned. Weeks before the royal wedding, photos started popping up everywhere.
You shot me, and now she admits it to me.
I was like, I don't know why, but I don't believe him. Lost my dad in this.
Meghan's father caught by paparazzi doing ridiculous stuff. Getting measured for a suit, reading about his daughter at an internet cafe, looking at royal family pictures on a computer like he'd never seen them before. The world laughed. Thomas Markle became a meme overnight. The tabloids ripped him apart. He's so out of touch, so embarrassing. Can you imagine having him at a royal wedding? But here's what nobody checked. Thomas says those photos were staged. The photographer who organized it, still working with Meghan today, still part of her circle.
It wasn't the kind of moment you planned for, but it ended up defining everything. One laugh. That's all it took.
Let that sink in. The same person who humiliated Thomas before the wedding is still connected to Meghan. That's not coincidence. Thomas believes it was a setup, and when you look at the timing, it's hard to argue. Think about what those photos did. Made Thomas look unreliable, desperate for attention. The kind of father who'd sell out his daughter for camera time. Once that image was out there, it became easy to justify cutting him out. Easy to say, we can't have him at the wedding, he's a liability. Thomas says they knew how it would play out.
As the spotlight sharpens and the silence cracks, we're left wondering who is the real Meghan Markle.
A 73-year-old man dealing with that humiliation, that pressure. He wasn't going to hold up. And sure enough, he ended up in the hospital. Heart problems, can't travel. Doctor's orders, perfect excuse. By the time he's in a hospital bed, the media had their villain. The father who ruined his own chance. And just like that, the story shifted. Enter Doria. Suddenly, she's the only parent. The calm mother stepping up when the father failed. The cameras loved her. She looked perfect. Exactly what a royal wedding needed.
Thomas reflects on the media's portrayal of Meghan as both victim and villain. He acknowledges that the truth is probably...
Nobody questioned it. This guy went from proud father to national joke to hospitalized to cut out in 2 weeks. Not one outlet asked if something didn't add up. They just printed what they were fed. The story looked clean. One loving mother, one absent father, simple, easy to root for. But if Thomas is right, it wasn't clean. It was choreography. Every step planned to create exactly the image they needed. The setup worked so well that questioning it made you look like a conspiracy theorist. The fairy tale was too pretty.
I'm going to give the texture a 2. Just to be, fair. But now for the taste.
Nobody wanted to see the backstage mess. Thomas says the cruelest part was watching it happen and knowing he couldn't stop it. Every denial made him look worse. Every explanation sounded like excuses. The more he defended himself, the guiltier he looked. The royal family backed the story. They accepted it. Thomas couldn't attend due to health issues. Doria would be there instead. Move along. The media didn't verify, didn't check timelines, didn't investigate if those photos were staged. They wanted the story, and it was too good to fact-check.
Hollywood is full of reinventions. Stars tweak their names, change their looks, and sometimes rewrite.
That's the turning point, where the fairy tale stops being about love and starts being about image, where real people got erased so the perfect picture could exist. Millions watched, never knowing they were seeing a performance. Yet this carefully managed moment had a precedent. All right, before the royal wedding drama, there's another ceremony we need to talk about. One nobody knew about. one Meghan never mentioned to Thomas, Doria, or anyone in her family. August 16th, 2011, Los Angeles County Courthouse.
Did you ever see anything in Meghan as she was growing up, before the rift, before she met Harry?
Meghan Markle married Trevor Ingleson. Not in Jamaica with the beach and sunset everyone's seen. That came later. The real marriage, the legal one, that happened quietly, on paper, in a courthouse, no family invited, just signatures. To the world, Meghan got married in Jamaica. That's the wedding everyone talks about. But according to records, that Jamaican ceremony didn't mean anything legally. It was symbolic. The real deal had already happened months earlier without anyone knowing.
Did you know that Meghan's mother was in prison several times in 2002, during the time Meghan began her acting career? Her mother...
Think about that pattern. 2 weddings, one legal and hidden, one public and staged. Sound familiar? It's exactly what happened later with Harry. The world saw Windsor Castle and the dress, but the real story, that stayed private. Meghan's got this down to a science, show people one version while living another, and get this. When she married Trevor, she took his last name, became Rachel Meghan Markle Ingleson. But by the time she's marrying Harry, that name's gone. Did she officially change it back? Did the palace know?
The latest update on Meghan Markle's father quickly became one of the most talked about topics on social media yesterday. Thomas Markle, who has suffered...
Here's the real question. When she married Harry, was she still Ingleson on paper? It's not just paperwork, it's a pattern. Thomas's daughter builds new worlds before closing doors to old ones. She creates new versions of herself, and the previous chapters just disappear. Actress becomes humanitarian, becomes duchess. Each transformation leaves something behind, sealed off, never mentioned. For Thomas, that courthouse certificate was proof. Proof his daughter could rewrite reality.
Meghan Markle's estranged father, Thomas Markle Sr., is saddened that Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet are being denied a royal lifestyle.
Live 2 different truths and smile like nothing was hidden. She'd done it with Trevor. Married him in secret, celebrated publicly, then made the whole marriage disappear when it didn't work anymore. So, when the royal wedding came and Thomas got erased, he wasn't surprised. He'd seen this before. Different cast, same script. Create the version that works, hide what doesn't fit, move forward like the past never existed. Here's the thing, every big moment in Meghan's life has 2 versions.
Meghan Markle's father and half-brother have quietly moved to Cebu for a fresh start. Photos circulating online show
the one everyone sees and the one that actually happened. And real people got lost in between. The missing invitation? Public version says it got lost in the mail. Private version? Thomas says he was deliberately cut out. The paparazzi photos? Public version says Thomas embarrassed himself. Private version, staged by people still in Meghan's circle. The secret courthouse marriage? Public version doesn't even know it exists. Private version shows a pattern of hiding reality while performing for cameras.
I'm trying to get on the show. So we're in love with Love Meghan right now.
What is that?
The Meghan.
What?
Doria's transformation. Public version sees a devoted mother. Private version sees a complete image makeover right when the world started watching. Look, Thomas doesn't have smoking guns. He's a father watching puzzle pieces that don't fit. The missing invitation, the staged humiliation, the hidden marriage, the rewritten history. Line them up and they form something else. Something less like a fairy tale, more like a production. The world saw romance, a woman finding love with a prince, breaking barriers.
It's loaded with receipts, secrets, and behind-the-scenes drama, so raw it makes the Oprah interview look like a fairy tale.
Maybe that's real. But Thomas says the story around that love required some people to disappear. Him specifically. Here's what nobody wants to admit. The best stories need clean backgrounds, simple narratives, complicated fathers with opinions and histories. That's messy. Doesn't fit on magazine covers. So you edit them out, rewrite them as difficult, unreliable, make their absence part of the story. And if you do it right, nobody questions it. That's what Thomas believes happened.
Most dismissed it as noise, but then, piece by piece, the noise started coming with proof. Sources claim
He went from being Meghan's father to a character in someone else's script. The absent dad who wasn't there when it mattered. Never mind he was there her whole life. The story needed him gone. So gone, he became. What really gets to him is how easy it was, how quickly the world accepted it. A lifetime of being a parent reduced to headlines and staged photos. Thomas Markle, the embarrassing father, not the man who raised her, paid for her education, loved her before anyone knew her name.
Dad decided to pack up and move to the Philippines for unknown, kind of shady.
The world chose the simpler story, and once they chose it, there was no going back. Every time Thomas spoke up, it just confirmed what people believed. See, he's difficult, exactly who we thought. Meanwhile, Meghan got to be victim and victor. Poor girl with no family finally finding her place. A narrative that writes itself. And it's almost impossible to fight without looking worse. Thomas sees it now. Every lie stacked on top of another until truth was buried so deep.
What did she do? She started tweaking her age to fit casting calls. The problem? Once you build a lie in Hollywood, you have to carry it everywhere else.
That digging for it made you look crazy. The missing invitation led to the hospital, led to Doria stepping in, led to the abandoned daughter getting her happy ending. Each piece fit too well. Each explanation came too quickly. And nobody asked why it all lined up so perfectly. But Thomas believes the biggest secrets haven't surfaced yet. So here we are, Thomas Markle, sitting somewhere far from the palace lights, watching his daughter live a life he's no longer part of. And he's got this weight on him, this knowledge he can't fully share. He said it himself.
Shrug, but stacked together, the dominoes start falling. First page 90 of 17, then the alumni snapshots, then the curious edits to Archie's.
There are secrets too heavy to reveal while he's still alive. Things that'll come out eventually, but not yet. Not while he's here to face the fallout. That alone should make you pause. What kind of truth is so big, so damaging, that a father can't speak it out loud? What's he protecting, or who's he protecting it from? But here's the real question. The one that should keep rattling around in your head long after this video ends. If they could rewrite Thomas's entire existence this easily,
It's ink on paper, still sitting in archives. And if that print contradiction is real, then how much of Meghan's...
If they could turn a present, loving father into an estranged embarrassment with just a few staged photos and a convenient hospital visit, what else got rewritten? What else in this perfect royal love story doesn't match what actually happened? Think about how fast the world bought it. No investigation, no fact-checking, no second-guessing, just instant acceptance of whatever narrative looked prettiest. And that's the scary part, isn't it? We wanted the fairy tale so badly.
Meghan Markle, that's when you put down your cup of tea, because it means fireworks are coming.
We know now in hindsight that Meghan never really intended to stay.
At 78, Tom...
That we didn't bother asking if it was real. We saw the dress and the carriage and the castle, and we decided that was enough. The truth? Well, that was just inconvenient details getting in the way of a good story. Thomas watches all of this from a distance now. An old man who used to check his mailbox every day, hoping for an invitation that was never coming. And he wonders, probably every single day, if what really happened will ever matter as much as what people wanted to believe. If the truth will ever be loud enough to drown out the fairy tale.
Nearly 5 years have passed since Meghan's wedding to Prince Harry, a day Thomas infamously missed due to health complications.
Because here's the thing about fairy tales. The brightest ones, the ones that sparkle the most, those are usually the ones casting the longest shadows. And in those shadows, that's where the real stories hide. The messy ones, the complicated ones, the ones with fathers who got erased and mothers with questionable pasts and weddings that happened twice. Because once wasn't enough for the cameras. Maybe one day those shadows will shrink. Maybe the secrets Thomas is holding will finally see daylight. Or maybe the fairy tale's just too pretty to tear down.
How can I fix this?
Are you worried that Harry and Meghan might end up suing you for something you say, given you know they're very...
Maybe the world will keep choosing the story they want over the story that is. Either way, Thomas Markle knows something the rest of us are just starting to figure out. Sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in truth. The ones that use real moments and real people, but rearrange them just enough that the whole picture changes. You're not lying exactly. You're just showing a better angle, a cleaner version, the one that makes everyone feel good. And if a father has to disappear for that version to work, well, that's just the price of a perfect story. So, what do you think? Was Thomas deliberately erased, or is he just a father who can't let go? Drop your thoughts below. If this changed how you see that royal wedding, share it with someone who needs to hear the real story. And hit subscribe with notifications on, because the truth has a way of surfacing eventually.